Have you ever wondered how people kept milk fresh before fridges were invented? What if I told you that frogs were once used to preserve milk? Sounds bizarre, doesn't it? And how about this? Native Americans buried fish in their fields to grow better crops. And whale oil that powered lamps long before light bulbs were even a dream. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Forever Green. Today, we're diving into some of the most ingenious and unexpected methods ancient civilizations used to solve everyday problems, from using crocodile dung as contraception to using urine for laundry. Curious? You should be. So, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Frog for preserving milk. In the days before refrigeration, people had to get creative to keep their food from spoiling. One of the most unusual methods came from Russian and Finnish communities who used brown frogs, Rana temporaria, to preserve milk. They would drop a live frog into the milk container, and somehow the milk stayed fresh longer. This practice might sound bizarre, but it has a scientific basis. In 2012, researchers discovered that the skin of these frogs secretes peptides with antibacterial properties. One of these peptides, called Brevinan B, can inhibit the growth of bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella, which are common culprits in spoiling milk. The frog's natural defenses helped keep the milk safe to drink, especially in warmer climates where refrigeration wasn't an option. The Native American use of fish as fertilizer. The Iroquois and other Native American tribes practiced a farming technique called the Three Sisters, which involved planting corn, beans, and squash together. But what made this method truly unique was their use of fish as fertilizer. They would bury a small fish, like a herring or shad, in the soil alongside the seeds. As the fish decomposed, it released essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium into the soil, acting as a natural fertilizer. This symbiotic relationship between the plants and the fish allowed Native Americans to grow abundant harvests without modern fertilizers. In fact, some organic farmers have started using fish emulsion, a liquid fertilizer made from fish waste, as a nod to this traditional method. Native Americans used smoke to preserve meat. Long before refrigeration, Native Americans developed a method to preserve meat that's still popular today: smoking. Tribes like the Cherokee, Sioux, and Apache would cut meat into thin strips, dry it in the sun, and then smoke it over a fire. The smoke not only dried the meat, removing the moisture that bacteria need to grow, but it also infused the meat with compounds that acted as natural preservative. This process created what we now know as jerky, a lightweight, protein-rich food that could last for months without spoiling. It was especially important during harsh winters or long journeys when fresh food was scarce. The type of wood used for smoking, such as hickory or mesquite, added unique flavors to the meat, making it not just practical, but also delicious. Urine for laundry. In medieval Europe, doing laundry wasn't as simple as tossing clothes into a washing machine. Without modern detergents, people had to get creative, and one of their most surprising solutions was urine. Yes, urine. Urine contains ammonia, a natural cleaning agent that breaks down stains and dirt. Laundry workers, often called fullers, would collect urine from public urinals, or even their own households, and mix it with water to create a cleaning solution. Clothes were soaked in this mixture, then agitated by stomping on them or beating them with paddle. The ammonia in the urine helped whiten fabrics and remove tough stains, making it a valuable resource in an era before chemical cleaners. Spider webs for wound care. In medieval Europe, medical treatments often relied on what nature provided, and one of the most unusual remedies was the use of spider webs for wound care. Spider webs were collected and applied directly to cuts and wounds as a natural bandage. The webs helped stop bleeding by promoting blood clotting, and their fine mesh acted as a barrier to keep dirt and bacteria out. Spider silk is rich in vitamin K, which aids in blood clotting, and it also has mild antimicrobial properties that may have helped prevent infections. This practice wasn't just a folk remedy, it was documented in medical texts of the time. For example, the 16th century surgeon Ambroise Paré wrote about using spider webs to dress wounds, and the practice was common in rural areas where access to medical supplies was limited. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to watch our video on 15 best water engineering systems of ancient civilizations from around the world on 4 Evergreen channel. Now, let's get back to our video. Vikings used moss for hygiene. The Vikings, known for their seafaring and warrior culture, also had a practical side when it came to personal hygiene. They used a type of moss called sphagnum for various purposes, including as toilet paper, wound dressings, and even menstrual pads. Sphagnum moss is highly absorbent and has natural antibacterial properties, making it ideal for these uses. Archaeologists have found evidence of sphagnum moss in Viking settlements, particularly in latrine areas, suggesting it was a common part of daily life. The moss was also used to dress wounds, as it could absorb blood and help prevent infections. This practice wasn't unique to the Vikings. Native Americans and other cultures also used moss for similar purposes. Charcoal toothpaste. Long before the minty freshness of modern toothpaste, ancient Greeks and Romans had their own way of keeping their teeth clean, and it was surprisingly effective. They used a mixture of powdered charcoal, crushed bones, and oyster shells to scrub their teeth. Charcoal, known for its abrasive properties, helped remove stains and plaque, while the crushed bones and shells added grit to the mix. Wealthy Romans even flavored their toothpaste with crushed mint or rock salt to freshen their breath, turning dental care into a status symbol. Romans valued white teeth as a sign of health and wealth, and they went to great lengths to achieve them. Ancient Egyptians used crocodile dung as contraception. The ancient Egyptians were pioneers in many fields, including medicine, but one of their most unusual practices involved crocodile dung. Women would use a mixture of crocodile dung, honey, and sodium carbonate as a vaginal suppository to prevent pregnancy. While it sounds shocking, there was some logic behind it. The thick consistency of the dung may have acted as a physical barrier, while its acidic properties could have had a spermicidal effect. This practice is documented in the Ebers Papyrus, a medical text from around 1550 BCE that details various ancient Egyptian remedies. Crocodile dung wasn't the only contraceptive method they used. Other methods included acacia gum, which ferments into lactic acid, a known spermicide. The Egyptians also used a mixture of dates and honey as a barrier method. Ancient Chinese used geese as alarm system. The Great Wall of China, one of the most impressive architectural feats in history, wasn't just guarded by soldiers, it was also protected by geese. Geese are highly territorial and have a loud, distinctive honk, making them excellent alarm systems. When intruders approached, the geese would honk loudly, alerting guards to potential threat. This practice was particularly useful at night, or in remote sections of the wall where human guards couldn't be stationed at all times. Geese were often kept near important gates and watchtowers, and their presence added an extra layer of security. The use of animals for security isn't unique to ancient China. Romans also used geese to guard their temples, and even today, some modern farms use geese to deter intruders. Ancient Romans used urine for teeth whitening. The ancient Romans were known for their advanced engineering and luxurious lifestyles, but one of their beauty practices might make you cringe. They used urine to whiten their teeth. Urine contains ammonia, a natural bleaching agent that can remove stains and brighten teeth. Romans would rinse their mouths with urine, or use it as a cleaning agent for their teeth. This practice was so widespread that urine became a valuable commodity. Public urinals were common in Roman cities, and the collected urine was sold to laundries and tanneries. In fact, the Roman government even imposed a tax on urine, known as the vectigal urinae. While it might sound unappealing today, the Romans believed in its effectiveness, and historical records, including writings by the Roman poet Catullus, mention its use. Vikings used sunstones for navigation. The Vikings were legendary navigators, capable of crossing vast stretches of open sea without modern instruments. One of their most ingenious tools was the sunstone, a mineral believed to be Icelandic spar, a type of calcite crystal. On cloudy or foggy days, when the sun was hidden, Vikings would hold the sunstone up to the sky and rotate it. The crystal would polarize sunlight, allowing them to determine the sun's position even when it wasn't visible. This method was crucial for their long voyages, including their journeys to Greenland and Newfoundland. Archaeologists have found evidence of sunstones in Viking shipwrecks, and experiments with calcite crystals have confirmed their effectiveness. The sunstone allowed the Vikings to navigate with remarkable accuracy, even in the challenging conditions of the North Atlantic. If you loved these ancient secrets, be sure to check out People Used Cow Skins as Boats to Cross River in the Past. Mind-blowing ancient techniques on the 4 Evergreen channel. Inca used quipus for record keeping. The Inca civilization, which thrived in South America from the 13th to the 16th century, didn't have a written language as we know it. Instead, they developed an ingenious system called quipus, or quipus, to record information. Quipus were made of cords with knots of varying sizes, colors, and positions, which encoded numerical data, stories, and even census records. Each knot's position, color, and type represented different information. For example, a red cord might signify soldiers, while a yellow cord could represent gold. The quipus were used for everything from tracking taxes and harvests to recording historical events. Spanish conquistadors, who encountered the Inca in the 16th century, noted the complexity of the system, but were unable to fully understand it. Romans used lead for sweetening. The ancient Romans had a sweet tooth, but they didn't have sugar as we know it today. Instead, they used a syrup called sapa, made by boiling grape juice in lead pots. The lead leached into the syrup, giving it a sweet taste. This practice was widespread, and sapa was used to sweeten wine, food, and even water. However, this seemingly clever solution had devastating consequences. Lead is highly toxic, and prolonged exposure can cause severe health problems, including brain damage, kidney failure, and even death. Some historians believe that lead poisoning contributed to the decline of the Roman Empire, as it affected the ruling class, including emperors like Nero, who was known to consume large amounts of sapa. Medieval Europeans used honey as a wound dressing. Before the advent of modern antibiotics, honey was a go-to remedy for treating wounds. Medieval Europeans, among other cultures, used honey to clean and protect cuts, burns, and ulcers. Honey's high sugar content draws moisture out of bacteria, effectively killing them, while its natural enzymes produce hydrogen peroxide, a mild antiseptic. Honey also creates a protective barrier over wounds, preventing infection and promoting healing. This practice was so effective that it was used for centuries, even on battlefields. For example, during World War I, honey was used to treat soldiers' wounds when medical supplies were scarce. Medical-grade honey, such as Manuka honey from New Zealand, is used in hospitals to treat burns and surgical wounds. 4. Ancient Persians built ice houses in the desert. In ancient Persia, modern-day Iran, people faced the challenge of preserving ice in one of the hottest climates on Earth. Their solution was the yakhal, a domed structure designed to store ice year-round, even in the scorching desert heat. Yakhals were built using a combination of thick mud brick walls for insulation and underground storage pits to keep the ice cool. One of the most famous yakhals is located in Kerman, Iran, a city known for its extreme temperature. The ice was collected during winter from nearby mountains or frozen lakes and transported to the yakhals. Wind catchers, a type of ancient air conditioning system, were used to funnel cool air into the structure. The mystery of ancient Roman concrete. The ancient Romans were master builders, and their structures, like the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and aqueducts, have stood the test of time. What's even more impressive is that many of these buildings are still standing after 2,000 years, while modern concrete structures often show signs of wear within decades. The secret lies in the unique composition of Roman concrete, a material so durable that scientists are still trying to fully understand its properties. Roman concrete, called opus cementitium, was made using volcanic ash, lime, and small rocks. The crucial ingredient, volcanic ash from near Mount Vesuvius, contained pozzolana, a mineral that reacts with lime and water to create a strong binder. This was mixed with aggregates like crushed stone. A 2017 University of Utah study revealed that adding seawater, especially in coastal cities like Ostia and Pompeii, significantly strengthened the concrete. Whale oil lamps for lighting. Before the invention of electricity, people relied on various sources of light, from candles to oil lamps. One of the most effective and widely used fuels for lighting in the 18th and 19th centuries was whale oil. Derived from the blubber of whales, particularly sperm whales, whale oil burned cleanly and brightly, making it a prized commodity for lamps and lanterns. Whale oil was especially popular in Europe and North America during the Industrial Revolution. The oil was extracted by boiling whale blubber in large pots, a process known as trying out. Cities like New Bedford, Massachusetts, became wealthy whaling hubs, with fleets of ships venturing as far as the Pacific Ocean to hunt sperm whales. Herman Melville's classic novel, Moby Dick, vividly captures the perilous and obsessive nature of whaling during this era. Tea bricks as currency. In ancient Mongolia, China, and parts of Russia, tea wasn't just a drink. It was money. Tea leaves were pressed into solid bricks, which could be broken into smaller pieces and used as currency. This system was practical because tea bricks were lightweight, durable, and had intrinsic value as a consumable good. During the Tang Dynasty, 618–907 CE, tea bricks became a major trade item along the Silk Road. They were used to buy goods, pay taxes, and even as gifts to royalty. The value of a tea brick depended on its quality and origin, with some bricks becoming highly prized. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the clever and surprising ways of the past. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more amazing stories on Forever Green.